A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 186th episode of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Just over 2 years ago, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we here at Notebook felt it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning and arrive at common solutions. Today, 186 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, all thanks to your love and support. We have discussed extremely curricular topics here like digital learning, NEP and assessment, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance and management, and even evolved topics like mental health. Today, we have a very relevant topic, home and school life balance strategies. As the pandemic raged outside our windows over the last 2.5 years, digital learning taking the lead and schools reopening after the longest closures ever, balancing between home and school has indeed become a new challenge. Sometimes the slightest of changes make the biggest of differences. And as we navigate through the challenging hours, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, that we make those minor but very important changes which make life more meaningful for all of us. Our first speaker on this topic is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster. With great distinction, he also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He's also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. And we here at Notebook are truly privileged to have Mr. Burrett as our senior advisor. So, a very good evening, and thank you so much for being here today. Over to you.
Thank you, Gagori. I hope I am visible and audible suitably.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, so, there's this African proverb which goes like this, it takes a whole village to raise a child, which is another way of saying that it takes many people who come into a child's life to influence a child and to raise a child and to turn a child into what he finally or she finally becomes. Yes, there is the home, the family, there's relations, friends, but also teachers, coaches, as well as classmates. And while parents are initially the primary caregivers at an early age, they will gradually have to share the raising of their children with many other people. Now, it is certainly beneficial if the school and the home front pull in the same direction, and that there develops a close bond between teachers, school administrators, and parents. And this, of course, starts at a young age, almost at a preschool age, when the parents are preparing the child to enter school. What the parents tell the child about schools, what values they instill at that early age, even before 3, are very important. The first shock, of course, comes when the child hears different messages, a different message from the school and a different message from home. He might at home learn that it is wrong to hit other children, or it is good to share things, or let others, go first, and that the world is full of good people. And in school, he may be taught by the other people who he meets something in sharp contrast to this. He may learn that the world is full of nasty people, that he must go first always, and that the world is a tough place and only the competitive survive, and that it's good to fight and get your own way. And I think PTMs, the parent-teacher meetings, they often become sessions where teachers complain about students and parents defend their child, rather than sharing important information that may benefit the teacher in the class and the parent at home. Because the child, of course, shows different sides of his character to different people. And there is so much information that a teacher could garnish from a parent, about the child, like early traumas, early illnesses, loss of grandparents. These are all important things which help the teacher to understand the child. At the same time, parents learn a lot from teachers because parents think they know their children, but they really don't know their children all that much. And sometimes the side the child shows in school is what a teacher picks up, especially residential schools where I worked in. And of course, it's incumbent on the school and parents that they get to know each other and each share this information in the best interest of the child. I think there needs to be this three-sided figure of parent, teacher, and child all working to help the child. I think successful and happy children are those who know that their teachers and their parents get along well and that they have a healthy respect for each other. And this leads to security and a lowering of anxiety. It's not us versus them, it's us and them working together. Often children hear things at home that sets them against their teachers. Parents talk loosely on the dining table that the fees are very high and the teachers are not doing very much in class. And look at these errors in the maths correction. This teacher is not doing her work. And this is what the child sort of imbibes, and therefore the respect for the teacher drops. It would be much better if these aggrieved parents met the teacher and voiced their disappointment or disgust to the teacher and rather than the children. Because don't forget, children naturally idealize their teachers. They love their teachers. And negative comments from parents actually confuse the child. And especially what I've seen in these COVID years when there was a lockdown and there was online education, a lot of parents had the time to sit and look into these online classes and criticize. And they then, having nothing much to do, they attacked the school and they had only negative things to say about them. And yet, if you saw the problem that the teachers had to face and balancing home life and school life, it wasn't easy for the teachers. Now, this relationship between teacher and parent can only develop gradually over time. And I've seen that, as a residential school teacher, I have become friends with so many parents. Even long after their children have passed out of school, we still have kept in touch. As I say, it's easier in a residential school because we have these children with us for 7 years of their lives. And as a housemaster, I always believe that there are no problem children, but there are children with problems. And a lot of these problems can be faced to dysfunctional families. Very often it is a difficult child through his problems that point to something that is happening at home. And a tactful and insightful teacher could actually get to know what the problem is. I've had many examples of these problem parents that did not reveal the problem to the teacher, but the child brought up the problem. And then later on investigation, we found that there were huge problems at home. They come from broken homes. They're single parents on the verge of divorce. And the child has to suffer all this. And it is an insightful teacher that can actually gauge what's happening. Another problem that I find is that a lot of parents are on apps, these group apps, class 7 app and parents of bus number 4. And there's a lot of grievances. There's a lot of gossip. There's a lot of false information going around. And one parent can work the rest up into a frenzy. It's like a mob mentality. When the best thing to do is to go to the school with the problem, these parents want to sort the problem out online, in their little groups. The issue of, is there too much homework being given? Are the teachers partial and rude? These things should be taken up at the right forum. And all schools have a channel of communication. It's not that we go straight to the head of school or the principal. There are deans and heads of departments who parents can address. And I think once you know the line of communication, it's always good to speak to the authorities without having to deal with these groups. As a public school teacher, I've had many Russians with parents. There was a student of mine who was on the verge of being operated for his appendix operation. And the parent phones me from Delhi saying, "Don't touch the child. I am on my way. We've just started from Delhi." And I said, I am not going to listen to the parent. I switched off the phone. I acted as if I couldn't hear the parent. And I told the doctor to open up the boy because I'm his loco parentis. And the appendicitis was Thank God we opened them up, because it burst the moment it was touched. It would have been a serious case. The child might have even lost his life. So, I mean, to cut a long story short, the parent arrived 4 hours, 5 hours later in a frenzy to find the child sitting up in bed and was fine. And of course, they were very grateful, because the doctor told them that Mr. Burrett has taken the right decision and we opened the child just in case. If you all had come 5 hours later, the child may not have been there. So there are a lot of issues like this where I have actually had to take decision over parents. Also, when a teacher has an issue with a child, it's not to be discussed in the staff room. A lot of teachers, their conversation about children in the staff room is not a right thing to do, because I think there's appropriate times to talk about a child. There are things that can be shared with other teachers, and many times there are things that are very confidential and personal. I think the most important thing is that the home must back up the school and vice versa. Parents should attend school functions as best as they can. They must meet and correspond with teachers online or telephones. Parents can actually help the school in so many ways by coming in and giving guest talks, opening up their firms to job experiences and summer jobs for children. They should also follow up the homework that is set, make sure that the children are following school rules, following correct uniform procedures. They must back up the teachers at every twist and turn, unless of course the teacher is being brutal and cruel. The last thing that a child wants to do is to be embarrassed in school by his parents. Sometimes parents, the way they dress, conduct themselves, the way they speak to teachers, the way they speak to the children's friends can be very embarrassing when they come into school. And I think it's incumbent on parents to understand that they sometimes come in the way of their children's development. Also, many parents over interfere in the school. And this, of course, is very, very common in residential schools, especially if the parent is also a student from that very school, is part of the alumni. So they compare their school, in their days to what it was now. And when you compare schools, to what they were, to what they are, they always find the comparison very negative. Things were always better in the old days. Things are always not better now. This is all wrong. I think parents must let the school get on with the running of the school. And if they have to interfere, it should be in a constructive way. I think other things that help is that there should be or could be a parent representative on the school board, so that this parent is the voice of the parent body, and they feel a part of the school. They are stakeholders in the school process. The other thing is that the PTM should not be a waste of time. Since you have a captive audience of parents, the school authorities should also use that time to speak to parents and educate parents on how to develop resilience, understanding adolescence. Not all parents are savvy and clued up about child psychology. And this is the time that the school head can actually make parents more aware. They can also organize informal meetings, apart from the formal Founders Day, Sports Day, Speech Day meetings, but they can, informal meetings where the teachers and the staff can meet each other, and badminton tournaments, eat-ins, picnics. Also, I think schools should encourage teachers to reach out to children outside the classroom. When I was a day school teacher in Delhi, I would always make it a point to take 6 or 7 children from the class to visit the child who was very ill or who'd been missing class for about over 3 to 4 days. We take the extra notes and the chapters that were being missed. Those were days before the internet, so we couldn't communicate. So I always visited homes of children who were ill, seriously ill, with my class. These are things that we can do. I would also say that there are different types of schools. There's so many types of schools that before a parent chooses a school, I think they should do their homework. They should check the values and the rules and the aspirations, the USPs of the school, check the alumni, check the results. Because if you put your child into the closest school or the first school that comes your way, then what happens is little later, you will find that you're trying to break the rules. You're trying to change the rules. I think it's very good to understand what the school stands for and not put the child in and then try and break all those rules. Otherwise, you'll be at loggerheads with the administration. And of course, to end with, I'd say that to have a happy joint front of parent and school is the best thing that you can do for your child. Um, and of course, since parents put in their children into a teacher's hands with all the trust that we have, we must show fairness, equality, and impartiality. While raising these young people. I've said many times that a lot of parents, a lot of children look up to teachers even more than they look up to their parents. They never forget their teacher. And the teacher has a task of not just educating the child and making him pass exams, but to actually touch this child's heart and soul in so many ways. There's also another issue of sometimes we teachers have children in the same schools that we are teaching in, and that becomes a special problem again. Those children suffer in special ways. And that of course, is for some other webinar later on. I want to end by saying that it's not for nothing that the school is called our alma mater, which is like a second mother. And these are the best years of a student's life. And they carry the memories of this life forever. And therefore, it's very important that the teacher and the parent offer a joint front and work together to raise the child. I hope that makes some sense. Thank you very much for listening, all of you. I look forward to the views of the panel and to Achin. Thank you very much, and over to you, Gagan.
Thank you so much, sir. As always, you have set the ball rolling for today's discussion. Teachers and schools are always very close to all of us, to our hearts. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker on this topic is Mr. Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, a member of CP Australia and CP Ireland, and a member of CIMA UK. He's also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. An avid reader and a passionate traveler, Achin has keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He's a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to various publications regularly. He's also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, a very good evening, and over to you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Gauri, am I audible?
Absolutely.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. A very interesting topic and something very close to my heart as well. So the moment we discuss about work-life balance, the first thing that comes to our mind is the fact that our plates are full. We have so much of responsibilities, so much of commitments at work, especially as we move along the journey of life and reach mid-management or senior roles. At times, yes, it's a challenge. But then again, if you take a slightly more holistic view, and if I mention about one or two small examples, I was reading about Facebook's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, who recently was in news for taking 2 months completely off from work as paternity leave. Netflix CEO, Reed Hastings, he has gone on record to state that every year, religiously, he takes 6 continuous weeks of vacation. And he offers the same to all his employees. And he hopes that because of the fact that he sets an example, his employees will follow suit. So it's a common philosophy, and he went on to say that we often do our best thinking when we're off from work. Maybe hiking a mountain or sitting on the beach. That's when the best ideas come forward. Richard Branson of Virgin, he takes great pride in the fact that he totally disconnects when he's on vacation. He doesn't even carry his phone. He's completely unreachable. All he has is a notepad and pen. to jot down fresh ideas that comes to his mind, and takes great pride in the fact that his colleagues, his team, they're supportive enough, capable enough to ensure that he can completely cut off from work. And I think last incident, very interesting. I was reading about Cliff Bar CEO, Kevin Carey, who not only takes time to work out, but he also went on record to say that he pays all his employees extra, all those employees extra, who ensures that they work out in the gym for at least 2.5 hours every week. That's mandatory. That's a part of the work culture. The list is endless. I can go on and on. Now, as far as academia is concerned, research has pointed out the dire need for work-life balance among academics. Lack of work-life balance, of course, leads to poor health, both physical as well as emotional, as well as lower rates of job retention and satisfaction. Very recently, there was a research by Harvard Graduate School of Education. And the director of the school went on to state, I think, 4 very simple principles, which he felt that academic institutions can actually implement. They can take lead to ensure that they create better support for their faculty members, for teachers. First and foremost, he felt it's very important to update job descriptions. Institutions need to get better at recognizing formal and informal commitments. Very often, teachers, faculty, they dedicate themselves in various tasks, not only teaching. So it's important that they be given appropriate credit for it, and to ensure that their work-life balance doesn't suffer if they're putting in extra hours in some responsibility, taking charge, volunteering to come forward. That also means that to ensure that they have a better work-life balance, some other responsibilities which someone else can handle should be reallocated. Second fact which he opined based on this research that was conducted was that it's very important, especially for junior faculty members, to be clear. A lot of workaholic culture comes from fear that if one isn't working around the clock, at times there's a negative perception. And I've seen this time and again in corporates. Till such time that top boss leaves his cabin, youngsters are hanging around, even though literally they have finished their day job. Now, institutions and senior faculty members, I think they have a huge responsibility in this regard to ensure that a clear messaging goes out that promotions and growth are not based merely on the fact that how much time one is spending. That's not the only criteria. I think more important criteria, of course, is contribution. So helping people really understand where they stand and what they need to be successful, right amount of mentoring. I think other very important aspect that he has stated is bringing in policies that will support families. Because when we look at a faculty, when we look at a teaching like teacher, educator, or for that matter, any professional, we need to recognize the fact that they have families to take care of. They're their own, support system. And they also need to spend considerable amount of time to ensure that they meet their responsibilities on the home front. So helping people create boundaries between work and home by making it easier for them, being generous with simple aspects like maternity leave, creating expectations, ensuring that once someone is coming from a personal leave, a long leave like maternity leave, etc., being given adequate support. I think ensuring that work-life balance not only in letter but as well as in spirit is adhered to. I think last aspect that he said is modeling balance. So Harvard came up with this, that at the end of the day, seniors hold a lot of power And their behavior, the way they conduct themselves, that actually sets the tone for the entire institution. So if in an institution, it's a normal culture that mails are being sent out or calls are being made at odd hours, that sets the tone for the entire institution. So it's really important that the DNA of the institution, the culture of the institution should be set right at the top. Now, in this regard, I think of late, of course, I have seen a lot of positive changes happening. And I think a large part of the credit also goes to youngsters who are joining the workforce now. I think I've seen a lot of positive changes. For instance, equality in terms of sharing responsibilities. A lot of these youngsters, they have been raised in dual income households, where they have seen both their parents, mom and dad, working outside home, as well as sharing responsibilities at home, be it household, be it childcare. So there's growing evidence that these men have more positive attitudes towards female co-workers and supervisors, which I think is another very important aspect when it comes to work-life balance. The other aspect is speaking up. So at times when we see a fresh recruit, a 20-something, negotiating hard, maybe either for pay or for a particular assignment, or pushing back on extra travel or extra work demands, at times we feel agitated. But the fact is, if you honestly think, many of them are asking for things that maybe all team members want. It also goes on to show that they believe in the saying that they work to live. I don't live to work. They understand that work is a part of life. And also, they are loyal only if it is returned. So they're not loyal to loyalty. They're only loyal to those who are loyal to them. So many of them, I think this change is silently coming in. And even existing norms in corporates, etc., I've seen them getting challenged and changing, especially over the last one and a half decade. And companies who compete with each other for fresh talent, be it in technology, engineering, accounting, finance, they have actually stepped up to meet the youngsters' demand. So finally, we see a lot of good things happening. We see progress in terms of issues like paid time off, in terms of parental leave, in terms of workplace flexibility, which of course has come in, especially after last 1.5 years, 2 years of COVID. So work from home, etc. We have seen large corporates accommodating this. Whether it's the right way to go forward or not, that's debatable. I'm not getting into that. But the fact of the matter is that flexibility has genuinely come in. So the other aspect is that now I think there are two ways of looking at this particular topic. One, of course, I think is very important is work-life balance of educators. Only when we have happy, satisfied teachers will we have a great institution. An institution or a school is not about the size of buildings or the quality of infra. Of course, that's important. But I think more important is, of course, the teachers. And not only being able to attract the best of teachers, but also being able to retain them, keep them adequately motivated. And I think that's where work-life balance comes in. The other aspect is a healthy balance for children. Children again have conflicting priorities. Of course, school, going back home, extracurricular activities. So I think few things for parents, which I feel are very important is, I think focusing on the process and not on the product. Like very, very young children are naturally driven to learn and explore. At the very beginning of their lifelong quest to understand, that curiosity is naturally inbuilt to understand things around them. So at times they reach out, they fall, but they get back again. And in the process, they gain a heightened sense of mastery, competence, confidence. But somewhere along the journey, at times, many parents, if not all, starts devaluing the process of learning and replacing it with a mad rush for the end product. So suddenly that intrinsic motivator, that curiosity which was being always encouraged till now becomes less valuable. And extrinsic motivators such as points, grades, they become more important. But if we take a step back and we give more importance to this journey of learning and ensure that our children actually enjoy this, I think that will make their lives substantially easier. And of course, keeping a long-term perspective. And I think the way I look at it, it's very important to love the child we have and not the child we wish we had. So it's not about idealizing, but it's about ensuring that we are non-judgmental, just the way our children are non-judgmental towards our own achievements. And of course, of worshipping grades or comparing kids, of course, these are strict no-nos. So these are a few things that I wanted to share. This, I believe, is a very interesting topic. And we have a panel of very senior educators, esteemed educators here with decades of experience, very senior principals, and from all corners of the country. So we are very sure that we are up for a very interesting panel discussion. I thank you all for giving me a very patient hearing, and I look forward to the views of the esteemed panel. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Achin, for those wonderful deliberations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a wonderful panel lined up for you. But before we start with the panel discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an edtech platform that creates short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. This means that every topic from every subject of the school syllabus has been converted into a series of short videos that can be used in two different cases. One is when you as a teacher are starting out a topic in your classroom, you can play one of these videos as a method of visually introducing the topic to your students. These videos are just 6 to 10 minutes in duration and take up very little of your class time while, hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Gauri, you're audible. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm so sorry, beg your pardon, ladies and gentlemen. These videos are just 6 to 10 minutes in duration and take up very little of your class time while offering the right kind of material to students to generate curiosity and excitement. The second is when the students are studying at home months later, they have access to the same videos on their personal devices, be it a laptop or a smartphone. They can watch the videos over and over again until they get a very clear understanding of the topic that you had taught. What I'm going to do now is play you some short snippets of notebook videos so that you know what they exactly look like.
नोटबुक में आप सभी का स्वागत है। आज हम अग्निपथ नामक कविता पढ़ने वाले हैं, जिस शीर्षक से एक बहुत ही प्रसिद्ध चलचित्र भी बनी थी। इस कविता के कवि हैं हरिवंश राय बच्चन। वृक्ष हो भले खड़े, हो घने हो बड़े, एक पत्र छाह भी, मांग मत मांग मत मांग मत। अग्निपथ अग्निपथ अग्निपथ। तू न थकेगा कभी, तू न थमेगा कभी, तू न मुड़ेगा कभी। कर शपथ कर शपथ कर शपथ। अग्निपथ अग्निपथ अग्निपथ। यह महान दृश्य है, चल रहा मनुष्य है, अश्रु स्वेद रक्त से लथपथ लथपथ लथपथ। अग्निपथ अग्निपथ अग्निपथ।
Hello students, welcome to a brand new video of Notebook. So let me explain you how the calculation was performed by the boy. It was 11 p.m. when the boy decided to set the alarm. He set the alarm at 8 a.m. So the total time span is 9 hours. The boy had to study for 2 hours. If he slept for x hours, then x plus 2 is equal to 9. So x is equal to 7 hours.
Let us understand what natural vegetation means and how it differs from vegetation. Natural vegetation indicates a community of plants that has grown naturally, without any human aid and undisturbed by humans for a prolonged period of time.
Chemical changes are the result of chemical reactions. The processes in which a substance or substances change into a new substance or substances with different chemical properties are called a chemical reaction.
Ladies and gentlemen, those were some short snippets from notebook videos. As you just now saw, we have today connected with over 3,500 schools and have had more than 44 lakh students benefit from our videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, or use our mobile apps for Android and iOS, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. With that, it is now time to introduce a wonderful and a very beautiful panelist that we have with us today. We have with us Dr. Swati Anand, Principal, Dharma International Senior Secondary School, Raipur, Dehradun. Ma'am believes in holistic and dynamic education. Working with the best university of Uttarakhand as an associate professor, Dr. Anand shares a 16-year-long experience in higher education, holding a PhD in commerce as well as a law degree. However, she left her job in the university and started her endeavor in Dharma Society, which runs Dharma International School in District Dehradun, Uttarakhand. She shifted to school education as a principal and chose to work in the rural area school as she realized that rural area schools are the most neglected ones. So the disparity between the education in rural area schools and urban area schools can be reduced, and her students get the same exposure at a reasonable cost which a student of any high-profile urban area school is getting. At present, the school has got the affiliation of senior secondary from CBSE, and along with academics, she is working on environmental protection, minimalism, sustainability, and counseling of mothers. The smile, satisfaction, and faith on the student's face gives her encouragement to do more. After all, it's compassionate human who creates an understanding society. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome to the panel. Next, we have with us G. Vanaja, Principal, Akshara Vaagdevi International School, Secunderabad. Ma'am holds a PGD LTC from Osmania University, Hyderabad, BSc from Osmania University, Hyderabad, BA from Nagarjuna University, Guntur, and MAd from IGNOU, New Delhi. She is a keen planner and implementer with track record of implementing operational policies, norms, systems and controls, motivational schemes and education standards during her career span. Prior to her current assignment, she has worked as principal in Gautam Model School, Hyderabad, Sri Chaitanya Education Institutions, Hyderabad, and Hillside School, Hyderabad. Ma'am has spearheaded huge size teams across 3 branches, including 150 teaching staff, 80 non-teaching staff, along with students of various levels of pre-primary to high school level, and has been awarded the Best Trainer for Teachers and Principals Award for 10 consecutive years. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome back to the panel. We also have with us Dr. Madhulika Singh, Principal, Gandhi International Public School, Uttar Pradesh. Ma'am holds an MSc in Botany, MAd, NET, and has completed her doctorate from CCS University. She has nearly 15 years of teaching experience with 7 years of experience in higher education and rest in school with 6+ years on administrative level. Establishing and running the school effectively and efficiently has been her achievement as a principal. Ma'am has published more than 10 research works in various national and international journals on various aspects of child psychology and teaching methodology. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome back to the panel. I would request all the panelists to please switch on their cameras and let's begin the discussion just now. Very good evening to all of you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I would come to Vanaja ma'am first with my question. Ma'am, a very good evening, Vanaja ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to start with this very basic question, like what are the challenges of work and home life balance for teachers in our schools?
That a warm greetings to all the panelists and participants across. As a team, I think we should listen with curiosity, speak with honesty, act with integrity. With these lines, I truly agree with Mr. Philip what he has said. The lines which he has quoted for the teachers, for the parents, and for the community, on the whole to the school, it is really apt. Major lines are very much apt. I think we as a leaders are already doing that, but still we find a lot of gaps and assumptions in the community. Now coming to the today's topic, like what you have asked Ms. Chatterjee, like how to balance home, school, life and balancing. All the teachers with qualifications, with their experience, they really work hard. But somewhere, everyone, or as a teacher, if I speak, we need to be a bit organized, understand the task. I think this organized word is famous across. But how do we prioritize? How do we understand the task? I think if we prioritize and understand the given task and plan ahead by involving people, we can have a smart planning. So everywhere, if we have a smart planning and if we prioritize, I think a bit of challenge will be minimized. So to address these challenges, when we are prioritizing what to be done today, what has to be done tomorrow in a week. By chance, if you are not able to do it, or if the task is overwhelming, I think a teacher in his or her personal life and professional life, somewhere we should go back to the concerned person, either take time or say no to few things, or go back to the same person who has given you the instructions, even at a personal life also and professional front also. Instead of beating around the bushes, stretching the given task, I feel if you go back to the person, take little bit of more guidance or some support, if there is a gap in understanding, then we are building a trust factor in the personal life and professional life. Once the trust factor is built, definitely we'll find the situations becoming more healthy, more warmer. Automatically, more hands will come front and you will have a very good peer relation and a family relation getting strengthened. So the same thing, the same way if you are building a trust factor among the professional life, student management also will look back. If suppose a teacher is having more than 2 decades of experience, once the trust factor is built, the management will also give a decent time enough in accomplishing the task. So until we build that rapport, we should demark what is pressure and a pleasure. How to convert this pressure and a pleasure. And somewhere we have to balance everything. When we plan up a day, start a day, as said, we are familiar with these words in this fraternity, like yoga for the heart and meditation for the mind, a bit of exercise, prioritizing the health first, because we are the one to balance both lives. So when we know to demark what is personal life and what is professional life, so demark it and start taking it in a balance. Both the areas, it's not I, we have to have we have to work as a team, involve people. In few areas, go back to the person, take some time or understand the given task properly. Instead of getting the experience until you wait till you get an experience, I think in this technological world, use others' experience to complete the task fast. Then I think everywhere you will find people, nowhere you will be eye left over. You will have a lot of hands in personal front and professional one to work as a team and accomplish the task. So I feel if this is put everywhere in place, demarking is very, very important. Smart goals is very, very important.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much for your input. I would come next to Swati Anand, ma'am, with my next question, please. Ma'am, we had an understanding of the challenges. I'm expecting that the challenges are more or less equal in all the fronts, so like in the school front or the home front. So how do we address those challenges?
Thank you, Gagori, for the question. I would like to start with that there is always a total conflict between the biological clock and the career clock. It will be always totally in conflict because once we are in the career path, we have to look after the family also. So you always have to remember that you don't have to feel guilt about it, because there will always be a conflict of biological clock and the career clock. Now, I come to the way we can face these challenges, and specifically I'm talking about the teachers, because we are addressing here approximately 176 teachers and principals here. So first of all, I would like that you should please note down, because I have just gathered few points and I've just noted down so that I can share all my feelings and opinions with you. The first is that always remember your worth. That is, you deserve to have a life outside work. That means create a third space outside of your work and family, which means that you should have a hobby. You should join a community center or a coffee shop. You can go for your favorite coffee with a beautiful book in your hand, and follow this 8+8+8 rule. That is 8 hours for the professional life, 8 hours for your personal life, and 8 hours for your sleep time. That is the beauty sleep, okay? That relaxes your mind. Next, I come to prioritize your health. That means you can't help your students, your family, if you are sick and worn out. If you struggle with mental health problem, don't be afraid to ask for help. Mental struggles doesn't mean you are weak. You need to have some extra support and a safe space to recover. Fine. Then always don't feel that there won't be difficulties. Be ready to make yourself prepared to pass through difficulties. And this is the way we all have to struggle. We have to, because once the difficulties will be coming, it will be making us more stronger. But for those difficulties, we have to create a coping mechanism. That means, what do you mean by coping mechanism? That all those unpleasant feelings which are coming to you, how can you, motivate yourself on in those circumstances? For that, you can take help of management. You can just take help of your parents, your relatives, your friends. You can spend some time in nature. You can read book. Yoga and meditation are always there to help you out. Then another important aspect is, please take a break from electronics and unnecessary notifications, because constantly checking your phone or computer can prevent you from living in the moment. That is, we talk a lot about live in the moment, but actually we have to practice it. So what I will suggest that this is what I also practice: engage in face-to-face communication with your management, with your students, with your family members. Then another important point is, create a clutter-free space at home, office, mobile, bedroom, closet, and kitchen. If we are occupied with unnecessary things, it creates anxiety. Have a to-do list, and please check your to-do list and mark it whatever you have done by 6 p.m. Okay, don't start marking at 10 p.m. because if you have left out something, again it will cause you anxiety or a kind of negative feeling that I'm not good enough. So you don't have to feel like that. Then live a guilt-free and without fear life, because if you are in fear, so what will happen? You will create a lot of disease and chemical reactions in your body, which will generate a lot of disease in you. Then delegate tasks in office and home. You don't have to fear that I have to be the best. You can take help of your husband, and husbands can take help of your wife, your parents, your children. You have to, even if your children, if I talk about home, you have to make them, better human beings. So what we can do, we can tell them that in this way, if you are helping me out, what you are doing, you are releasing my stress level. Then set work hour and time, which I have told you that 8+8+8 rule, you should always apply. Next is save emotional energy for yourself and for your loved ones. Fine, because as teachers, as principals, whether they are male or they are females, we all have emotional energy. Zyada se zyada, what happens? Our emotional energy gets drained in the office, in the school. And in the school also, when I talk about emotional energy, I mean, please be, away from gossips and criticism, because that damages your mind, your brain, and your positive energy. Then spend time with people out of education. That means joining some social cause, club, or outreach programs. Know when to say no. That means prioritizing yourself. And then the very important line which I would like to mention here, that there is no perfect way of achieving work-life balance. What is working for you a year, it might not work for you 2 years later. So there will be a constant, you have to, you can say it is a Sudoku kind of thing that constantly you have to manage that. Yes, this will work. It's a kind of testing thing. So it is not possible that 1 month before what was working for you, it will be working 2 months later. And last is, forgive yourselves for your mistakes, because whatever we are doing, we are learning from it. We are just trying to improve ourselves. To all my dear teachers, my dear colleagues, my friends who have all gathered here, thank you so much. And one more thing, I would just like to suggest you that all of you know Miss Indra Nui, the CEO of PepsiCo. I would just request you all that please read her book, My Life in Full. My Life in Full, because whether you are a male or a female, it will help you to know when people like Indra Nui are facing such kind of problems, how they were able to manage their work and life. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The 8+8 rule, that's really awesome. That is for those inputs, I'm sure will help everyone higher in the forum.
Thank you, Gauri. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So next we'll come to Madhulika, ma'am. Ma'am, a very good evening. My question to you would be like the challenges we have heard, how to address them we have heard. Ma'am, how does the school authority, the school management and the students contribute in the process of making life easier or difficult for the teachers?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. First of all, thank you for providing me such a platform. And just now, as Achin sir has said, for happy teachers, we have to make an ecosystem which is supported by the stakeholders, parents, students in the school, and school management as a whole. So, first of all, the teachers have to work on 3 fronts, that is home, school, and self. Because self, what we are, we also as a teacher affect ourselves in a way, what we think, what we perceive, and what we have priorities in our life, right? So I think, or I feel that school plays an important role in shaping the work-life balance of the teacher. Like just now, Vanaja ma'am has shared, like management should have certain policies which should be where a teacher should can easily approach the management or the concerned person for their problems, and they should reach out to that person. So there should be no strict, harsh and fast rules for the teachers, that they cannot share what they are facing or what they are having problem in their work at their workplace. Then as far as students are concerned, yes, we should build a rapport with the parents, with the students in the class. And for that, obviously, we should ourselves should be having a healthy mindset. And for that, we should have a very balancing or should have a favorable or a supportive home environment. And for that, we have to work even at home also. So indirectly or directly, home is influencing the school environment. And next, like even with the peers, like I consider that we should have a very positive environment in the staff room, especially where teachers just divulge out everything what they are facing in the classroom. So it should be very positive, favorable and acceptable, non-judgmental also. Why I should say non-judgmental? Because it is then that positive or the negative feelings start erupting in the mind of the teacher, that if I say something, this would be the result or this would be the outcome by the senior person, or this would be the result what the other person will perceive. So it really creates something which provides an environment which leads to a very different ecosystem. So, and as far as policies of the schools are concerned, it should be such that it really supports the teacher as a whole, a teacher as a whole, I mean to say, with their families. We know you can't exclude a teacher from their family. A teacher is coming from a family, whether it is he or she. They have their liabilities towards their families, or I should say, they have their responsibilities towards their families. So school management should consider it while building, framing their policies, their norms. And like we in our school, we make sure that all the teachers, when like sometimes it is we have our annual exam, our exams, and even their kids have their exams. So we ensure that during those times we don't stay back teachers, or we don't have do not extend the times of the school, so that they can give even time to their family or to their children who are going through the exam also. So such policies should be framed. Then there should be an environment where teachers should feel a little comfortable. If she has or he has some problem, they can easily approach their seniors or their peers, and those problems are sorted also without any blaming. Like teachers should not be blamed for everything. Sometimes we all are humans and we all have the right to make mistakes. So I feel we should as a teacher, as a principal, or as the management, we should give them that space that they can do mistakes, but those mistakes should obviously not be repeated again and again. So school also should school can in a way appreciate and provide space for the growth of the teacher, where she or he feels or have that feeling that they are progressing positively towards something which is going to give them growth in the near future. That way they develop a very positive attitude towards even to their work. And I feel I consider it gives even a happy feeling to themselves also. So they go home happily to their school, and they just now it was said present generation is loyal to the loyalty. So that loyal to the loyalty becomes easy for them to give, and that way they also start dedicatedly working towards that loyalty which has been shown towards them. So I feel school in various forms can cater to their needs, cater to their priorities in their personal and professional life, and that way can build an ecosystem which is positive or favorable for the whole ecology of student, parent, and student. So this is what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we had a wonderful discussion, and I think there are so many teachers and academicians in the platform, and they must be hugely benefited from the inputs from the esteemed panelists. I would like to call Achin for the vote of thanks.
I think really wonderful discussion, I must say. Burrett sir, thank you as always for giving us a great start. Sir has always been a great mentor, guide, and I'll say the rock star of Together for Education webinars. Really wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for setting the tone for the evening. Vanaja ma'am, thank you so much. I think very appropriately, nicely, you explained the topic, including the shift from I to we. I think that explains a lot. And also a clear demarcation between personal and professional space. The other aspect which I really appreciate, ma'am, I really like is, I think it was a very intelligent tip of not trying to reinvent the wheel and learning from others' experiences. I think I couldn't agree more on that. Completely agree with you on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin, for giving this opportunity. I truly agree. All the panelists are really lot of takeaways. As a principal from 3 decades, also for me, I think teacher life is ever learning. We need to unlearn and learn so that we stay young all the time.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. And we all learn from each other. Thank you so much, ma'am. Swati, ma'am, thank you so much. A very enriching session, I must say. So in fact, and you started off and requesting all of us to take notes. And when you started with the deliberation, I was scribbling, and points were really good. I must appreciate that. So I think a few things, 8+8+8 rule that really stays with us. And I think the other aspect that you mentioned, I really agree, and I honestly believe in that and try to practice, often unsuccessfully, is to create a clutter-free space at home, at office, and the to-do list. That's my all-time favorite. So colleagues who work with me, they know that all the time. That's something that's always handy. So I think, ma'am, thank you so much. And of course, the last point that you mentioned, saving emotional energy for our loved ones. That, I guess, is very important. At times we all get drained at work, but it's equally important to ensure that we give adequate time to our family, to our loved ones as well. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really wonderful.
Thank you so much, Achin sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much. Thank you, sir.
Really, really wonderful, ma'am. We really enjoyed your
Thank you so
deliberation.
much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Madhulika, ma'am, I think few very wonderful points you mentioned. First of all, I really like the way you deliberated and mentioned about 3 fronts. That's a unique way of looking at things, because very often we discuss about the personal and professional front. But the third dimension that you brought in, self, I think that's very practical, because as professionals, we continuously need to enrich ourselves, we need to invest in ourselves, and also give adequate time to ourselves. And I think it's time that we start just looking at the third dimension. So very, very important point, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. And also, of course, it's really important that our teachers, they get all the necessary support that's needed from all stakeholders of the educational ecosystem, and making them feel comfortable so they can actually open up to their seniors, discuss their real life issues, and their grievances are redressed in a very non-judgmental way. I think that's very important. So we had a wonderful session, and I'm sure members of our esteemed audience. So I saw, I think 2 minutes back, roughly around 200 people attending. So I think that's wonderful. And I'm sure that all members of our esteemed audience have some excellent takeaway from our esteemed panelists, senior educators, who were really generous with sharing their valuable ideas for all of us. I thank all of you again. And I look forward to your continued support in the sessions to come. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you, Achin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the
Thank you, ma'am.
opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. My pleasure.